There's something in the wind that makes the girls fly low.
Hello, my name is Barbara Lewis with Singing After 40. Welcome. I hope you're having a good day. Today I'm going to talk with Claire Duchesneau, a close friend, who's a 69-year-old hospital social worker here in Montreal. She loves to sing. She's also hearing impaired, and she wears 2 hearing aids. She's going to talk today about some of the challenges that she's faced as a hearing impaired singer, and she offers some awesome ideas to other singers who may have trouble with their hearing. Here's our interview. And thank you so much for agreeing to come and speak with me about your singing and your hearing.
Well, Barbara, it's just an honor, truly, to be able to share some of my thoughts on this channel, and I have a few things to say.
I know you do. I'm gonna have to hold you back. So let's go way back to before you were you knew that you had hearing problems. I'd like people who hear this interview to understand some of the warning signs about hearing loss. I think a lot of us go through these kinds of warning signs without knowing, and I think that happened to you. Talk to us about that.
Hearing loss is a disability that is very insidious. You often don't see it coming, and I'm going to give you an example of how I realized I had a real problem. I had decided to take a course to improve my written French. I'm bilingual, but it's a difficult language. I wanted to improve it, so I went to my first class, and somewhere in the class the teacher looked at me and said, "Please don't interrupt."
Oh.
I didn't hear anybody speaking, so I didn't know how I could have interrupted. I felt embarrassed, I was uncomfortable and confused. And then I went to the next class a couple of nights later, and she said, again, she pointed to me in front of the class and said, "Please don't interrupt."
Oh, jeez.
And at that point, I was mortified. And on the spot, a light bulb went off, and I said to myself, something's not right here. And I never went back to that class.
That's such a shame.
I'm so ashamed. But right after that, I went to have my hearing tested and discovered that I had hearing loss in both ears.
Oh, wow.
For other people, it's many things. Sometimes their relatives will say to them, you should have your hearing tested. Or some people who are having hearing loss will speak louder, thinking that if they speak louder, other people will hear them better and respond better. So there's many ways in which we discover our hearing loss.
Yeah.
More importantly is all the ways we choose not to acknowledge our hearing.
Okay. Talk a bit about that.
But there's so much stigma around hearing loss in our society. It's associated with being very old and a little bit senile if you can't hear.
Yeah.
And we don't make fun of people that are blind. We don't make fun of people in wheelchairs.
Not in the same way, no, that's for sure. Yeah, you feel when you don't hear well, I would imagine, you feel like you're not connected anymore. And there's the danger, I think, is the lack of connection.
Oh, absolutely. The lack of connection is a dangerous thing. In fact, at Johns Hopkins University, this doctor, Frank Lynn, did a study where he followed people over many years in different age groups who had mild, moderate, and severe hearing loss. And what he found is that there was a relationship between hearing loss and dementia.
Okay.
That the likelihood of developing dementia in people who had mild hearing loss was 2 times the norm. And it doesn't mean that if you have hearing loss, you will develop dementia. It doesn't work that way scientifically. But it does put you more at risk. Even more interesting is in 2020 at the University of Newcastle. So they looked at the part of the brain that is most activated when you have what they call difficult listening. Where you're saying, like, "What'd you say, Barbara? What'd you say?" That kind of really...
You're straining. It's a strain.
Straining.
Right.
And what they discovered is that it was the same area of the brain where they often found the onset of Alzheimer's.
Oh, wow. Oh, my. Okay, that says a lot. But let me ask you this, and you may not know, but if you get hearing aids, if you're losing your hearing, and we'll talk about this a lot more in relation to singing, if you're losing your hearing and you get hearing aids, is there still the possibility, or is there a greater possibility still that you'll get dementia if you are now hearing because you have hearing aids?
But there is reason to believe it's that the research is going in that direction, that if we can just continue to communicate, to not isolate ourselves because we can't hear properly, to not put so much emphasis on one part of the brain trying to hear to the detriment of other parts of the brain, and on, that we have, that it's in our best interest. So when it comes to singing, I think it should give you an extra motivation to hear well enough to sing, and also potentially protect yourself against brain deterioration.
Now that we know more, I mean, it's important that we get our hearing tested, and you will talk more about that, and get those hearing aids in. Once you have those hearing aids, what is it like then to continue singing?
You know, Barbara, I had a great advantage over many people. I had you. You were a great gift to me because you started off with the premise that singing is a human right. I was reading the other day that singing goes back, they believe, as far back as Neanderthal man. 530,000 years ago, the voice box descended enough so that then they could make musical sounds, and they believe it might even be further back than Neanderthal man. And then when music historians try to understand the evolution of music, one of the theories is that they sang to communicate emotion. So in a group, when they wanted to let other people know about their emotions, what they were feeling, they used singing. And you know, Barbara, for me, singing, when you think of it in that context, I think singing is a human right.
You know, the act of singing, the learning of singing, is much more powerful than we give it credit for. It changes our lives so much, more than just learning to sing. You stand better, you breathe better, you think with more focus, your memory improves, your ability to express yourself improves, which now I see is connected to 500,000 years ago. That's fascinating. I mean, singing isn't just singing a beautiful song. You end up doing that, as you did, because you're a poet. But singing is also engaging in life in a much more vibrant way. So I think, as you say, singing is a human right. If you're attracted to singing, you got to sing. In those 6 years that we worked together, you went from singing out of tune quite a bit to giving concerts and making an amazing CD.
I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. I'm alone.
You remember the conditions under which I finally was brave enough to actually record was that I had a diagnosis of cancer.
Yes.
And we didn't know if it had spread. And so we didn't know how long my life expectancy would be. Luckily for me, we caught it early enough, and that was 10 years ago, and I've recovered since. But one of the things that came out at the time was I want to sing in studio. I want to record something in case I'm going to, number one, lose more hearing because of chemotherapy, which is always a possibility.
Right.
And the other thing, just in case I die, I wanted to leave behind a song.
Yes. Speak about what it means to be a hearing impaired person who keeps singing.
I feel that we need to be compassionate with ourselves, that give ourselves a break, not only during this difficult time of the pandemic, but any time. You know, music is there to enrich our souls, to make us feel that much more alive, and to give us hope and to bring beauty in our lives. You have a right. You have a right to your dreams. Hope is a human right too.
Oh, absolutely.
And you have a right to want to engage in this extraordinary activity called singing that just brings a kind of joy to our hearts that is sometimes inexplicable.
Yeah.
I'd like to suggest to people that they pay as much attention to their hearing health as they do to any other part of their body.
Good point. Yeah.
At a certain point in life, see your family doctor, get a referral for a baseline hearing test, something you can build on, because we know that almost 2/3 of people over age 70 have some hearing loss, according to statistics.
Okay.
And so chances are you will have some, but you just want to make sure, when does it cross a line?
Claire, is there anything else you'd like to say before we finish this interview?
You know, Barbara, I was thinking of how self-conscious we are when we sing. Am I singing, like, is it right on pitch, and did I phrase it right, and did I do this right and that right? And I was thinking to myself this morning, no matter how badly I may sing, I'm sure I sing better than Neanderthal men. That's for sure.
I'm on my way to Toronto. Sure hope the winds will be warmer there. And in my blues, I'll write a postcard, if just to tell you how much I care.